this tea time chat video, which I've decided to do because I've been battling off a bug or some kind of nondescript inflammation based illness for the past day or so. So I've spent a lot of time in bed and not eaten very much. I was trying to record a bed rest audio book of the week, but I had to stop halfway through because I got too ill to continue filming. So you might see a slightly choppy version of this week's bed rest book of the week in a few days. Not a lot's been going on this week. It's been a sort of week without appointments for a change, which has been quite nice. I went to lunch with my dad. We've had the after effects of Storm Dennis, I think it is, to deal with this week. Luckily, I haven't received any major damage. It just resulted in me having sort of cabin fever for the week or a few days as I was unable to get out over the weekend. And I like to try and get out at least once over the weekend because sort of Saturdays and Sundays can seem quite long otherwise, particularly when it's these more sort of dark nights. The most unimpressive thing that Storm Dennis left me with was no internet for about a day or so because the weather was so bad that it blew my connection out. But that's all resolved itself now. So things are sort of getting back to normal, and I have to remember that at least I'm not one of the poor people in South Wales who've had major flooding and had to evacuate their houses. So I'm thanking my blessings, and having to spend a weekend in the house is nothing, and losing the internet, although a bit annoying, is nothing either. And now we're all back to normal. So I spent Monday chasing up some Monday and Tuesday, chasing up some health appointments, but it was quite nice to be able to go to lunch. I finally found what office my occupational therapist is working out of. You wouldn't believe how difficult that was to discover. In the NHS, there isn't one occupational therapy department, as you might expect. There are several, and because everybody only really works on first name terms these days, you can find it very difficult to trace where people or what particular departments people have come from. But luckily, I had a very helpful person who helped me from the West Midlands Central Hub. Kudos to you, who not only helped trace my particular occupational therapist, but text me the information because I find it difficult to write it down. So that was really fantastic. So although it took a good long time to find out where to ring, because I rang all the existing numbers I have had from previous dealings with OT over the years, thinking it would be at least one of those numbers, and it transpired it was none of the aforementioned. We managed to sort things out, and they are coming for an assessment, or to assess me or to perform a hoist assessment and an assessment of my new bath chair. I'll insert some pictures of the new equipment and possibly a very cute cat testing the new equipment for me, because I've been given strict instructions not to use said new equipment until it's been signed off. I'm having quite a few mixed feelings about the intrusion of yet more equipment into my life, but I'm hoping it will relieve a lot of the pain and massive amounts of fatigue I've been experiencing over the past 12 months or so. I mean, I am getting older. I mean, I'm now in my 4th decade of life, although people routinely mistake me for much younger, which is quite amusing, because I think if you looked at my body on the inside, it would be collecting its pension. It might actually be heading for 1 foot in the 6 feet eternal hole under the ground, but I'm trying to be more positive and look forward to a new year. It will be, I think I'm on a sort of threshold of changing the way I live my life, maybe at a slightly slower pace, and giving up some of the things I've loved in the past, but maybe I'll find new things to replace them with. I've enjoyed travel very much, like travelling around the cities in the UK. It's a long time since I've done any international travel, but I've travelled around a lot of the cities in the UK, going to conferences and so forth, and I'm finding that increasingly more difficult due to the greater amounts of assistance I need to do things, and there are lots of accessible hotel rooms now, but I'm finding it extremely difficult to use like standard beds and things, and if a hoist comes into the equation, I don't know quite how that will work for travelling. So I'd quite appreciate any ideas for travelling with reduced mobility and care needs. I don't know whether I'll have any kind of care assessment, because I don't think I won't be able to use the current hoist that's sitting in my house at the moment without, apparently my current care assistant, or PCA as you might call them in the UK, or PA as some people call them here in the UK, has told me apparently she thinks we'll need 2 people. And I've been funding my care, well, my dad has helped fund my care on a private basis for the past 5 years, and I am now wondering whether I'll actually qualify for social services assistance. And I know it's not going to be any kind of quick sort of fix situation, as we've been trying to get this assessment done for several months and I kind of got lost in the system for a while. But I'll show you some pictures anyway, and see what you think of the new equipment, and I'll let you know how, well, I'll probably tack on to the end of this video how the assessment goes, or make a short video tomorrow after the occupational therapists have been, because they will obviously offer sort of more advice and support as to where we go from here, because they apparently already thought I was known to various statutory agencies, and it would transpire that I wasn't. I didn't think I was, because we've always done things on a private basis before, and I haven't had a social care assessment for many, many years. So it will be interesting to see what type of support's available. As at one point when I was assessed relatively, or at the beginning of this assessment process, they raised the spectre of residential care, which I don't think will happen for somebody in my situation. The problem is that there has been, over the past 20 or 30 years, a wish to move disabled people away from sort of institutional settings into more community-based settings. And I think we're slowly seeing the pendulum swing back, because the OT said that I saw a few weeks ago said that They now prefer to have people all on one site and a small amount of carers dealing with more people, which is a complete contraindication to the personalisation agenda that we've had in recent years, and that I never personally received much benefit from, but a lot of my friends did. I'm hoping to be able to stay in my home for many more years to come, because I enjoy living in it, just a normal street. It took a long time for me to get the adaptions to, or not me personally, but we had to do a lot of work to get the adaptions even as functional as they are now. I have 2 lovely cats that I enjoy living with very much, and you couldn't live with cats in many sort of more institutional based settings, and I would never want to be without them, because they've been a great support to my mental health. So we will have to see where it goes. I mean, I think it's sad that they're now trying to sort of pigeonhole people with disabilities now and remove them from community settings at a time when I think we need to sort of be more sort of included in the community, at a time when, like, there seems to be this rise of populism and let's blame everybody for why our lives are not how we would want them to be. And I think keeping people with disabilities away from like mainstream social life only helps people to be more sort of it sort of marginalises people, and it sort of takes you out of people's sight and daily life, and maybe and the less you encounter people, the less they are likely to understand how you live and what your needs are, and that you are fundamentally just an average sort of person, and that your disability is one part of who you are, and that you are more like them than you are different from them. So and also it's just nice not to be able to socialise with people who haven't got disability, because being a disabled person, particularly of my age, I was still on the in the time where there was a lot more sort of marginalisation and people were more segregated. A lot of people were still in residential care. They couldn't travel on public transport even. I mean, we hear lots of bad stories now, but they couldn't travel on public transport like they can now, and or at least can much more easily now. I think we forget how bad things were and fail to look at how good they are now. I know things could be very much improved, but they are better than they were in my youth. So I just don't like the thought of society as a whole moving backwards. I know social care is facing an extreme sort of drain on resources at the moment, and I think this is only going to get worse, particularly with the whole cap on freedom of movement, which will end in the UK at the end of 2020, because sadly social care is very often not viewed as a skilled job. It's very low paid, often not much more than minimum wage. I try and pay my support people above minimum wage, but often people with a high level of care need can find it difficult to pay more than what minimum wage than minimum wage in the UK, because of the actual financial support that they receive doesn't actually enable them to do that. So actually long term I would like social care to be seen as a much more valued profession, as a professional sort of as a professional job, not just something that you do if you have low skill, or because many good carers that I've had some very good carers, a lot of Eastern European carers, a lot of very good carers from the UK and all sorts of things, and many of them have been very compassionate. They've brought things to my life that I wouldn't otherwise have had. They've helped me through some very difficult times. They've given me skills and independence and a level of sort of personal stability that I wouldn't otherwise have had. I wouldn't have been able to maintain my independence even to this degree had I not have had the support of other people. And having grown up at a time when independence was sort of foisted on you as doing everything yourself, even if it took you 2 hours to put your socks on, and don't wear these clothes if you can't put them on yourself, etc. It was initially very difficult to accept more physical help. I sort of viewed it as a failing, but I can honestly say it's given me it's really enhanced my life. I don't have as many skin problems now because I have support with looking after it after the skin on my feet, so I've had very few skin breakdowns on my feet, certainly in the last 5 years, and they're looking better and more healthy than they've done probably in a decade. And now I've got the new shoes that you may have seen in previous videos. It's been even better. So I just hope tomorrow's assessment is a sort of positive and productive one, and that we can move forward, and I can maintain my independence for as long as I possibly can. So I hope you enjoyed this slightly rambling video of my scruffy self in pyjamas, and hope you enjoy the cat related cuteness that I'm going to insert in this video. Hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to comment. I would love to hear your thoughts on independent living and equipment and so forth. Feel free to like and subscribe and even share this video if you so wish. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.